Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one-stop podcast for students, professionals, parents and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career, career guidance and career mentoring. Please welcome your host Dr. S.B. Mishra to the show and happy listening.
Hello and welcome to India Career Center. We got Mr. Ramkrishna Bodu today, once again, our guest in many episodes with so many illuminating insights into different aspects about career guidance. Welcome, Mr. Bodu. We will talk about a very interesting topic, which is outcome of the last episode which we did together on another important subject. Today we talk about the digital literacy. Digital literacy today is so important because I think the digital world is around us. We have seen how it has, it has shown its power during the pandemic. Now, pandemic is over. Physical schools have kind of started across. Uh, but what has happened is the last 2 years of pandemic has actually made one permanent impact on the young children, and most of them have got hooked to this screen. I mean, whether it is a laptop or a computer or a mobile phone. So, depending on the age category, I think different children or young people have got into this habit. Now, information today in today's world is actually very important, and whether we like it or not, the digital world has so much of information which is also equally important. My concern is that while we cannot actually you know get away from this concept of digital world, at the same time we must also try and sensitize as much as possible to our young people in terms of creating that digital literacy about how to use the technology. Otherwise, technology will take over the with all its might. So we need to actually keep guiding our young children, young people, as to how to use the technology, how to use it for advantage rather than getting trapped. So to give all the insight into this, I would like to welcome you for this show. And first of all, let us start with what exactly you mean by digital literacy and what are the aspects.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mishra ji, once again for having me here on this, on multiple,
Yes.
topics here. And I'm glad and I hope we were able to add value and share that context with the viewers, especially, children, parents, whatsoever from that context we are doing. And at the same time, though this topic came out of our earlier episode discussion, I would digital literacy as a larger footprint. This has a broader perspective, definitely, but I would take a step back and tie this to a holistic development of a child, as such. And in fact, it is not just limited to a child's development, a student's development. As a parent, as an elder, as a grown-up also, we need to be aware of all aspects which we're going to talk in this episode. So digital literacy, while we agree it's a larger footprint, let's take a step back and understand what are these literacy skills to begin with. In 21st century, what are these literacy skills which we never thought when we were growing up? Because why I say that 15 years or little earlier than 15 years, because this is when, we started adopting so much of technology, so much of, media related exposure to international, footprint and all. So it has become very important. how literate are we when it comes to media? How much literate are we when it comes to using technology? How much literate are we when it comes to information? And of course, there are many other aspects like financial literacy, agriculture literacy. There are many other aspects, but from a technology standpoint or a digital footprint standpoint, we're going to touch upon what is this information literacy all about, what is this media literacy all about, and what is the technology literacy, aka digital literacy we call it. So what I will do here, I will take few minutes to just give an outline, a very high level outline about these information, media, and technology literacy. Right? So when we talk about information literacy, the first thing is it appears to be very a fancy term, but what actually it is, are we able to identify, locate, and access appropriate sources of information? Are we able to actually evaluate and organize and use that information and transform or translate that information between each of us? That is what is information literacy all about. So now the question could be, why do I have to be information literate? If we are not information literate, then what happens? Whatever you see on a specific website on internet, you tend to accept that as a reliable source. Now, before accepting that as a reliable source, don't we need to find out, is that a reliable source or not?
Absolutely.
Are we smart enough to identify that this is a reliable source or not? You go on internet and Google, and then for something, you search for something, you get a website link presented in the top 1, 2, 3 lists. Now it is quite obvious, whatever is coming on the top of your page, you go and click on it. And how many of us really know that those are all paid promotions? You pay to Google to get your website listed in the top search criteria, your website will be listed there. Now I can understand, as a grown-up, we may be a little moderate and we may be cautious, but look at the young minds. They get glued onto it quickly, but at the same time, they're smart enough. They're smarter than us in finding out whether it is a reliable or not. But what happens is, before they realize it, they fall into the trap. So if you are an information literate, or information literacy is all about understanding and evaluating the credibility of the information that you are accessing.
Here, I would like to just add a couple of points. You mentioned about Google. So 86% of the web search happens on Google. That's one data. And the second data is 98% of Google's revenue comes from advertisement.
Absolutely. It's all paid. It's all paid. I'm not saying all they put on the top search criteria is not a reliable source, but how do we know? For example, I'll give another example in that context. Those are wonderful statistics, Mishraji, but let me little elaborate. Now, how many times, at least I'm seeing this significant change in the recent 1.5 years. Any search you do on Google, at least 1.5 years back, I mean, I don't know if it is tied to my search options. Wikipedia used to be one of those top 5 listed, links until an year and a half. But in the recent past, I see that Wikipedia has gone down to a 10th one in that list on that page. And Wikipedia clearly gives a disclaimer. Where is the source? What is the source of that information? They are actually putting it on their website.
Yes.
How many websites really do that? I hate to say, every Tom, Dick, and Harry will have an information exchange over internet. not necessarily quoting, what is the source of it. And we read something and that we carry away, get carried away. So that's the most crucial part. So information literacy is all about understanding the credibility of information, the quality of information, or reliability of that information when we access it. And at the same time, accessing certain information, is it legal, ethical, beyond that credibility and quality? That is also important. Now the question could be, okay, this is all good. Why is it so important? Further, if you look at from a child perspective, this becomes very important. If your child is doing a 10th grader or 11th grader is doing an academic assignment, or even a grown-up doing an undergraduate, an academic assignment. Now, besides the prescribed textbooks or a reference material given by the university or the board, they have to do their own research on internet. If they are not getting, let us say a child is doing a project or an academic assignment on history broadly. Now, if they are not picking up that information from a right source, from a reliable source, then look at the perception this child or that group is going to carry throughout their life. So it helps them for an academic success. And it makes them more, knowledgeable citizen at the end of the day. So how could they do it? Critical thinking. This is another, how to develop this information literacy. It is all about, developing critical thinking. That's the crucial aspect for anything. And of course, research, reliability and all that. What information do I have to research? So this is all the first one.
In that case, if I just try to simplify this, first and foremost, try to locate information from reliable sources. For example, Wikipedia could be one of the reliable sources.
Yeah.
Similarly, in respective other subjects, you try to locate information from a reliable source.
Yes.
And even if you have collated the data, use your thinking rather than taking everything as per what is available on the on this resource which is available. Is that correct in the?
Absolutely. That makes it very critical for us. Now, see, the young mind, they kind of little fast moving. They want to go a little faster comparatively. But as a grown up, we should be able to help them navigate through a right source. Now, the question could be, even as a grown up, most of us are not information literates. So the idea of me bringing up a little deeper understanding into these concepts is to raise that awareness.
Yeah.
So that, we kind of go in the right direction, either in our personal or professional lives. So that's Absolutely. Very important. Thank you for, summarizing, simplifying, for the benefit of our audience, Mishraji. That's all about the information literacy. Now I've set that context on what is this. Now I'll not take too long for giving an outline of this media and technology literacy. Okay. Now, media literacy. This is more, what do you call it? Media literacy is not about which media to watch, though underlying concept. Now, understand what is the intention of that media to actually do propaganda about a specific news or a topic. It is something similar to the information literacy. Now, today in the world, whether you look at in India, any regional channel or a national channel, or you look at those so-called international channels of CNN, IBN, CNN International, Al Jazeera, or the BBC News, or there's a Russian television, and there's one popular media channel from France, right? Besides our national channels in India and the regional channels. Now, it is very hard to identify the media which is unbiased. they take clear sides in majority of the cases. The idea is not to blame anybody here. The idea is for us to be sensitive enough to understand what this is all about. So media literacy, it is all about understand why this media is actually talking about this specific topic time and again. You'll be able to easily make out they want to support a cause. Now, in most of our news channels, again, no offense here, it is played towards the psychology of our mind.
Yeah.
Clearly. So when I always say that recent example of COVID. You take any prime time news, any channel for that matter, across the world, regional, national, international. If there is a prime time news for 30 minutes, let's take during COVID time as an example. Out of the 30-minute prime time news, 25 to 28 minutes is all about how severe, how deep, how worsening the COVID impact was, how many deaths have occurred, how much suffering is happening, how many difficulties people are facing, what are the challenges that governments are facing. And only 3 to 5 minutes, there is a hopeful news, the positive news about the vaccination development, the outcomes of the trials. See, creating hope happens only 2 to 5 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes, but threatening happens for about 25 minutes.
Fear sells?
Fear, it's a very clear cut. So now, even us as a viewer, we are very keen to watch those 25 minutes time as opposed to that rest 5 minutes. Yes, that's how psychologically we work as a human being, most of us. I mean, nobody is an exception, but we got to be cautious. And they get you glued to it so much, you can't sleep that night by listening to so much negative news at times. So it is basically ask yourself right question on what you're watching or what you're reading or what you're listening to. Okay, if it doesn't make sense, the world will not stop. Decades back, mankind was surviving much better way. Of course, we have a lot of advantages. Today you get to know what happens in Uganda in the next minute. For example, 40 years ago, was that the same case with our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation 50 years ago? They didn't know. So they're living in peace. So today we get too much of it, by watching this. Being literate by questioning on what you're watching and what you're reading. That's very important. Again, critical thinking. Because media is all about, promoting a product or promoting an information. Another example I can quote, Mishraji, with your permission.
Yeah, so I think on the media side, I want to interject here. What has happened is media, I think maybe about 100, 150 years ago, if I talk about India's media, obviously in those days, it was just the print media and maybe some few printed magazines, but media had a different agenda. Probably they wanted the agenda of, promoting the cause of independence of India, development of India. So those were the ideas which were there. Even those days, I think the media was promoted by some promoter. Obviously, it was not really run on charity. It was run on a business.
Absolutely.
Even today, it is run on business. The only problem is today, the number of media houses have grown multiple times, maybe 100 times. And each of them have a economical agenda to survive and to do better than the other. So they are in the business of selling the news. I don't think
Absolutely.
most of them are not really in the business of giving you news. They're in the business of selling you news. So
Yeah.
traditional media has actually broken all the boundaries. I mean, the newspapers are there in television, they are in internet, they are in the WhatsApp, they are in Facebook, they are in Instagram, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think as people are consuming information in whichever medium, the media is actually following that. And what we want, I think that is what we get. I mean, that's as Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, we as human being want to see the 25 minutes of misery and difficulty and bad news, and that's exactly what is being handed out. So yeah, so I thought I'll just add this
No,
point.
no, that's a very, very valid points you have brought in, Mr. Ajay, and thank you for that. And it's that actually reminded me of another ongoing example. Look at the issue of war between Ukraine and Russia. Entire international media took one side of the supporting Ukraine. Majority of the media. I mean, we never know who's right, who's wrong. The point is not to judge anybody. Now, when United States go and do war against, any country, the same media will support United States. They don't try to highlight the sufferings of the people, the common people who are, in those regions. But anyway, this is another, it will open up so many questions. But I thought I'll bring that as an, point of, in this. But eventually, if we want to be media literate, how do we develop it? These are the following few questions that we could ask. When we watch something or listen to something or actually get to see something, first of all, let's question who created this and why did they make it? Who are the intended audience that this message is for? And what is the point they're exactly trying to make? You look at the media debates, no conclusion. It's all noise. Now, which side this media is? Who are paying for them? And after that, the primetime news or that a debate that you watch, so what do you feel about it? Did you actually get anything out of it? And ultimately, what do you think that this media, by doing that 30-minute program, they are going to get out of it? They're just going to get their TRP ratings.
That's it. They're selling their time.
As simple as that. And of course, there are very little few, humble, still, I still see that hope. Again, I don't want to sound like that, we are all talking about the negative things which are happening on media. There are a little bit of positive aspects.
Of course,
also.
yes.
But, yeah, but the whole idea is to, let us be aware.
Yeah.
So that's about media literacy. Now, here comes, the important aspect, which is a technology literacy, which is also called as a digital literacy from a larger perspective. Now, technology literacy means it is again tied. How do we use technology, the digital information, either dealing with devices or in the modern learning environment? It is the ability of an individual basically in understanding, accessing, managing the technology and communicating information through technology. It is about, how efficiently, how effectively are you using that technology or a digital medium. That's what is all about the technology literacy or digital literacy. Now, technology should actually enable us. The digital footprint should actually enable us. We shouldn't become slaves to the technology. Rather, technology should be at our dispatch. It should work in our terms. But unfortunately, what is happening is the technology has taken over in certain areas. The digital footprint is taking over our lives. Tell me, how many of us really go to bed without watching the WhatsApp messages? And how many of us really wake up and the first thing we do is pick up the phone and watch, what is that WhatsApp messages that you have got? And 98% of them is nonsense what we watch on our WhatsApp messages in most cases. Actual usable things will be 1 or 2% messages from your near and dear, some, good, memory sharing, exchange, or some viewpoint, but the rest of it is a forward. Right, so we should now look at Facebook, look at any other online medium on the technology, footprint. This has all become, I hate to use this word, but it has become abusive largely, and there's a lot of fraudulent things are happening because of this. Every morning or every other day, we wake up to see the news of how the technology has been misused. And being sensible about the social media and being smart on the internet navigation and protecting our privacy. And it is again tied to the, validating the source of that, information that we are accessing through the digital medium. I've come across so many questions during my discussions with my mentees, parents, and in my workshops. During the online classes, at least 10, 11, 12 grade students, 95% of them don't turn on their video.
Yeah.
Point one. Now, point two, there are parallelly 2 more windows besides their online class window. And one is Facebook, the other one is YouTube.
And probably Discord.
Yeah, Discord. There are many other. I'm just limiting it to 1 or 2. And it hides. Some others are actually playing video games while the class is going on. So now the challenge is, most of us as parents, we may not have time to supervise throughout, and it is not fair to police throughout the early teens children, because it becomes counterproductive. We have to see the negative repercussions and all that. We have to take a bad, experiences. So now, this is what though it has its own advantages, the technology or the digital footprint, though it has its own advantage, if it is not used appropriately, how to use it appropriately, how to utilize the digital medium appropriately. If we don't do that, then the negative consequences will actually take it over.
Yeah.
Right. So that is very important. Instead of spending a lot of time on Facebook, if our children create their own blog and write an article over there, that's a more productive way of looking at it. Instead of spending time on Discord or somewhere, create their own website. Absolutely. Or make a sensible video and put it on YouTube, or rather taking just a pleasure by watching some comic video on YouTube throughout, time and again. So that is how we should look at this whole thing. So all in all, and of course, this digital literacy is a very broad spectrum. We could do on and we could get into the details furthermore, but I'm limiting this conversation only at this point. So like I said, literacy skills, which are very important in 21st century, which are like information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy. So if we can understand that these skills, these literacy skills are important, and it is important that we let our child also take heed on how to use a productive way of using all these, so that they have a better outcome rather getting glued to it. My explanation or my submission in that last 30 minutes or so in that conversation adds value in realizing the importance. So let us pause and let us also question ourselves as grown-ups, as a parent, as an adult, as a working professional. What are we accessing? What are we watching? How are we using it? Let us start critical thinking. Let us stay objective. Let's not get glued emotionally and fall into the trap of it. It only actually make you work in one direction that will be so non-productive direction if we get glued or fall into the trap of it.
I
If
think
we
that's a
start
very
thinking,
good point. Yeah.
yeah, if we start thinking critically, that will actually enable us in multi dimensions. You know, if you watch that primetime news, for example, I hate, that's not fair to put somebody on spot. The Arnab Goswami, the famous primetime debate, except yelling at each other, nothing happens over there.
Absolutely.
And we all know there's a lot of with due respect, again, it's not, it's
I know. I mean, a lot of our viewers probably might be watching that also, but then no offenses meant for that.
Absolutely. We are just trying to bring that up, and I see a lot of this thing happening in in regional channels, and sometimes on the international channels also. So I think without any offense.
Yeah, I know. I think you summarized all the three concepts very well. What I would like to add on here is that our children or our young people uh, do exactly what they see the elders doing. So before we start preaching about what should be the right thing to do, I think at home we must start doing what is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
And it starts with us. So the world is not going to change. That if you really want your younger children at home to really take the right things from your behavior, I think you have to start from yourself. And I think there are very basic things which can be done, which Mr. Ramakrishna also mentioned. If you're watching the prime time news and you're not getting anything out of it, then probably question that and probably stop watching that and see something which is more sensible. That's one. Number two, you mentioned about WhatsApp. Now, WhatsApp is something which cannot be avoidable because that's where you communicate. I think today WhatsApp has become a texting messaging app. I mean, I don't think we use the normal text messaging anymore. WhatsApp has completely taken over that. But unfortunately, along with that, it has also done a lot of other things like forwarding messages, forwarding videos, and whatnot. So, I mean, I have taken a position that okay, I will use WhatsApp between 9:30 a.m. and to 6:30 p.m. in the evening, and rest of the time I'll not access WhatsApp. So, I will not get out of it, but obviously I'll not use it. The other thing which I did is I deleted all my social media icons from the mobile phone. So that if I have to see something, whether it is LinkedIn or whether it is Facebook or Insta, whatever, I have to switch on the laptop to really access that data. So I'm trying to free up that time from getting glued to the mobile, and hopefully some of it, some of these behaviors, hopefully my younger children, I mean, I've got two young teenagers at home, they will also learn from it. I don't expect them to change immediately, but eventually with my conduct, I think I will be able to help them reinforce this behavior in them. And these are some things I thought I could do it. So probably others also could try and do it. What do you think about it?
No, absolutely. If we are the change advocates, then that's the better way. We don't need to preach our children. They will learn from us. Yeah. They'll do what we do.
Exactly.
They don't do what we ask them to do. They'll just do what we do.
Yeah.
So if we do the right thing, then I think they're going to copy it and then do it, then everything will be, home will be a peaceful place. Otherwise, bringing up these children, because it is not a one-day affair, right?
Yes.
We have to be very serious. It's a 20-year project.
Yes.
If you have to bring up your child, it's a 20-year project. If you are ready to take up the 20-year project, then only get into it. Otherwise, don't get into it.
That's very scary for the expecting fathers and mothers.
but otherwise also, so it's I mean, there's a lot of pleasure in it.
I know.
Obviously,
yes.
parenting.
No, I
is
think
full
we
of
should not
pleasures.
focus on only the negative thing, but
Yeah.
but I think you're right. I think we as parents have to be sensitive, and we should not become preachers. We have to lead by example. I think that's exactly what is required. We cannot get away from the digital world. We cannot get away from the media chaos. We cannot get away from the information chaos. At the same time, if you are sensible, if you are able to use your critical thinking, then you should be able to navigate through all this chaos all around, and it will only increase. So I think good luck to all of us. So I think that's how I would like to put it.
Yeah. So as you rightly mentioned, as elders and as especially in the parenting, I mean, it's walk the talk.
Yeah.
We have to be doing it, and then if we become the change advocates, then that's the best way to do it. Rather than preaching, we doing it so that the kids copy from us.
Absolutely.
By simply preaching it is nothing is going to work. But nevertheless, the whole idea, I think, before we call it a closure, so the whole idea of bringing up this topic is basically to pause and be cautious and understand what we are watching, what we are seeing, what we are listening, or what we are accessing. This is no big rocket science, but in our lives, we are on the track, running at certain pace, running at certain speed, without knowing, is it really required to run at that speed? Is it really required to be on the track to begin with? Critically thinking about what we're doing, that will solve. Just question about why are we doing it? What are we going to get out of this? Is it necessary? Let's ask these very simple questions. So that solves most problems, most unwanted. We can get a lot of valuable time back. We can get a lot of, do some better things really. So I think that's a fair conclusion, I believe, Mishra ji.
Yeah, absolutely. I think very nicely concluded. I think so. Listeners and viewers, please watch what you're doing, and I'm sure it is not difficult. It is just that make that intentional change in your lifestyle, and that will have a ripple effect at your home. And if you can do that at home, I guess you can actually bring a lot of change in the society as well. So with those very, very positive thoughts, thank you, viewers and listeners, for investing your time, and really we hope that you get something useful from our conversation today. Thank you for investing your time. Thank you, Ramakrishna ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic and help you in your career journey.